We're going to get started with this month's joint Metro North and Long Island committee meetings. Metro North takes the lead for this month. My name is Blanca Lopez. I am the co-chair of the committee, joined by my fellow committee members as well as my co-chair, Sammy Chu. If we could go ahead and have this morning's speakers, please.
Good morning. We have 10 members of the public registered to speak this morning. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I would like to remind everyone that our speakers, in the interest of time and fairness, all have 2 minutes. Please be aware that you will hear a warning beep to remind you when you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker will be Kara Girl, followed by Maddie Bucky's Highland.
Good morning. I'm Kara Girl, Planning and Advocacy Manager at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. Last month, we learned the results of the Fall 2023 Customers Count Survey. We were intrigued, but not surprised, to see that on both railroads, better fare incentives are one of the top items to increase overall satisfaction. Better fare incentives were number 1 on the list for Metro North riders and number 2 for Long Island Railroad riders. The good news, PCAC knows just how to make that happen. We have 3 proposals that would give riders the gift of lower fare options and hopefully could be funded this year by the state, city, and OBTA funds, respectively. First, extending the half-fare senior and disability discount to the morning peak, the only time when this crucial discount does not apply. This is a common-sense expansion that would show seniors and disabled riders that their contributions to the workforce matter. Second, expanding fare fares to the Long Island Railroad and Metro North within New York City. Fare fares has helped riders on subways and buses afford the fare, and it's time for that to apply to the commuter railroads that run through low-income riders' backyards. We'd also love to see fare fares eligibility raised to 200% of the federal poverty level. The current 120% is too low for so many riders who have trouble making ends meet and affording the fare. Third, creating a weekly city ticket with transfers to subways and buses. We're so thankful for the recent expansion of City Ticket. Now that riders can benefit from lower commuter rail fares within the city 24/7, more people than ever are taking advantage of the option. Adding a transfer option to subways and buses is a critical step to a more integrated transit system where riders can use subways, buses, and the commuter railroads on one city ticket. Riders made their voices heard, and they want more fare discounts and incentives. We're working with our elected leaders to make it happen in this year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Maddie Bucky's Highland, followed by Jack Nuremberg.
Good morning to co-chairs Chu and Lopez and to the committee. My name is Maddie W. Bucky's Highland. For today's topic, I'm going to speak about accessibility and the ADA task force, which I'm interested in. I believe on February 8th, Long Island Railroad Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, I expressed my interest in joining the Long Island Railroad ADA task force, and they said they would get back to me. So far, I have not heard anything back. I do express my interest in joining now, even though I don't use it very often. Accessibility is key for people to go anywhere. My home station of Seaford became accessible in 2009 with an elevator. That's a good thing for people. The Babylon branch, I'm excited to see Lindenhurst is going to be ADA accessible soon. The last topic I want to talk about is I would like to congratulate Sammy Chu on being the MTA board member, and I can congratulate for his year and a half onto the MTA. As you know, this could be your last meeting. I wish you all the best of luck, Sammy. Thank you. God bless you, and have a good day.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jack Nuremberg, followed by Ian Matthews.
Passengers United. So I was looking at the new schedules that are set to go into effect next week, and there are some improvements, but there are serious concerns about Brooklyn service, especially the reduction of trains from 3 trains to 2 trains during the evening. And at the same time, one thing that's not mentioned on the Long Island Railroad website is the elimination of a late morning train, creating a gap in service on the line of over an hour. That is unacceptable. when the new schedules were put into effect after Grand Central opened, we were promised that Atlantic Terminal would be seeing an increase in service, and now that is being rolled back. That is not okay. What we do want to see, if that is the case due to track work, which I get it, we want to see replacement buses running every 15 to 20 minutes to accommodate this decrease in train service. And speaking of Brooklyn, I do want to mention the Atlantic ticket, and especially the weekly Atlantic ticket, which was eliminated last year. And I do want to make something clear that the Atlantic ticket, which included the weekly subway transfer, was eliminated last year. And there was no reason to eliminate it. We were pleading over and over again, just because the new city ticket, which, by the way, has a $7 peak fare, which Brooklyn should not be paying, just because it might be benefiting other communities in the city, does not mean that another community, especially East New York, all those other disadvantaged communities that are already disadvantaged, should not be even further disadvantaged. So there's no rationale, and we need Atlantic ticket back immediately. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Ian Matthews, followed by Christopher Greif.
All right, good morning. My name is Ian Matthews. Now, I'm a little concerned with the Metro North, how we still have a lot of short trains during peak hours, resulting in dangerous overcrowding. Particularly the 7:53 a.m. from North Plains is very overcrowded, and tickets cannot even be collected. That is a serious, not good. The 8 a.m. Super Express needs to come back from North White Plains. As for the Long Island Railroad, we need more off-peak trains stopping at Forest Hills and Kew Gardens, like late nights and during rush hours, because the subway is not really reliable. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Christopher Greif, followed by Andy Pollack.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif as an advocate for people with disabilities. First, I want to thank our MTA police that do respond to the crimes or any incident happens. Chief, we want to thank you, MTA police, because there were some incidents at Atlantic Avenue, and they do respond very well in helping seniors and people with disabilities if they need assistance. Just please remind them that if someone is saying good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, please remind them that someone is just saying please be safe, because I do not like when officers are getting abused. As a former alumni member for the Citizen Police Academy alumni, it is very important we all work together on this. The one thing I do want to add for the Metro North, if we can work on Metro North Cares, their walkie-talkies, because there's been some concern of safety for them. If Long Island Cares have the radios, why can't Metro North Cares have them? We know Grand Central has them, but further up north in the Connecticut or upstate, they don't have them. I'm asking because we need to make sure for safety concerns as well. And very important also is if people are going to be switching to trains at Jamaica, please remind everyone that the elevators there are not MTAs. Those are Port Authority elevators. The elevators there are not owned by the MTA. And it's been mentioned to the press that MTA owns them. No, it has been Port Authority because our elevator number code is bigger and much larger. The Port Authority ones are small, and so small you need a magnifying glass for them. So let's please continue advocating for more accessibility stations, more accessible technology, and let's work together this year. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Andy Pollack, followed by Charleston D'Souza.
Good morning, President Free, and good morning to everybody else at the Long Island Railroad. I'm Andy Pollack from Passengers United. So, the new schedules are beginning next week, and I want to quickly mention that, yes, even though yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of Grand Central Madison, there's still some flaws to the schedules that need to be addressed. Like one example I'm going to give, we still only have one train on the Far Rockaway branch directly leaving from Atlantic Terminal in the afternoon, where I clearly have requested that there should be 2 trains going to Far Rockaway in the afternoon from Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn. And one notable change in the Port Washington branch has not been acknowledged. My normal 217 train that I take from Penn Station, beginning next Monday, March 4th, it's now going to leave at 2:21 p.m. Why wasn't this acknowledged on the press release that was sent out back on February 16th? And another thing I want to also discuss is the fact that you're canceling a Babylon branch train that normally goes from 612 Atlantic Terminal to Freeport. You know, people want options from Atlantic Terminal, and you're taking that option away from them. Just like how, beginning at 9 p.m. on weekdays, one westbound train and one 10 p.m. eastbound train, you're going to have 2 trains per hour, so it's going to cause overcrowding. So these schedules need to be adjusted, and there needs to be serious changes at the scheduling department. Whoever is in charge of the scheduling department, all I got to say is, I don't know what are you guys are thinking over there. So, seems my time is about to conclude, I'm going to be speaking at New York City Transit later this morning, so thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Charlton D'Souza, followed by Alita Dupree.
Morning, everyone. Charlton D'Souza, President of Passengers United. So we're getting a lot of complaints from Long Island Railroad riders about the new schedules. And why is it that lessons were not learned from the fiasco that happened the last time? So now we have more Brooklyn trains being scaled back. Port Washington branch riders are upset because they're losing some direct trains. All around, it's a mess. So Rob Free, what we need from you is a community meeting so that we can all sit, have a dialogue, and work out the schedules for May. Because the summer season, what happens with the diesel trains is they all get sent to the Montauk branch, and then everyone on the Port Jefferson branch, Oyster Bay, they get shorted cars. I heard a rumor that y'all are getting cars from Mock, from Washington, D.C. this year. I hope so. Get some cars from Amtrak, wherever you can, because it's going to be a hot, stuffy summer. People need service. They're paying so much money for the Long Island Railroad tickets. So we need reliable service, and we need safety too, because I'm starting to see overnight, and this is for you, Chief, we're seeing individuals sleeping in the station. I'm not talking about like 5 individuals. I'm talking about 50 people at 2:30 in the morning in Penn Station sleeping, and even in Grand Central now it's starting. So we need some intervention. We need social services for those, poor individuals who need some help and need a lift. But overall, we need city ticket restored, and we need the weekly for Queens Village. And also what I want to bring up is that, with the trains on weekends, we're seeing a lot of overcrowding. So that is something that y'all have to look at. I know that y'all get upset when I come and give you bad news. So I'll tell you what. Next month, I'll focus on one good thing, okay? I mean, we do care about the customers, and it's sometimes you win things, sometimes you lose, but we have to make the service right. People are paying a lot of money. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alita Dupree, followed by Jason Anthony.
Thank you. Good morning to the chair, Semet Blanca. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds can talk about railroad today. I did watch the videos of the openings of accessible stations, so that's very important and meaningful to me. So thank you for that. Hopefully we can get some more accessible stations open. That's very good work. And those videos and those ribbon cuttings, they're good use of time and money because they create awareness, and that way I can know about these things in case I have to use them. So thank you for that work. I often talk about Grand Central a lot, and I like to put positive energy into my virtual podium. And I am not with you today. I'm in Oakland. I have Capitol Corridor nearby, and I have BART, which I often refer to as being the people system. I do think about fair policy and on the railroads about having a consistent 24-hour fair policy for our senior and disabled patrons. So I think we should work for that, because when I use BART, 62.5% off the standard fare for me at all times the system's open. So I think we should work on that. And we should figure out renewable fuel for our diesel fleet. Time to get away from straight petroleum diesel, because Capital Corridor and Metrolink are using renewable fuel. So I think we could do that in New York and invest in New York. But I often say it, you can never have enough Grand Central Terminal. I take my Grand Central Terminal very seriously since I discovered it in 1980. And I really enjoy Grand Central Madison. The Grand Central Complex is an ecosystem, and I think it is the centerpiece of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Iris Kelly.
Good morning, Blanca. Kathy, Rob, Vinny, Norm, Neil, Sammy, Jerry, Shanifa, and all the board members of the Long Island Railroad and Metro North Committee. Jason Anthony here, the newest member of the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. This month, I'm gonna bring to you guys some fact checking. Why is it that we're having some service reductions? Why is this? And here's the answer. Those in the other side of the Hudson aren't setting the lawsuit because of congestion pricing. I spoke in their most recent board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they're playing the most devilish move yet. They're raising their fares 15% plus 3% annually. But they don't realize that those of us in the east side of the Hudson who use their service won't be able to speak up against those fare increases. But at the same time, they don't realize that we not able to modernize our stations, have more service, including yet have more accessible stations across the board. So think about it, folks. We should fight back against New Jersey Transit. I'll see you guys at Transit.
Thank you for your remarks. Our final speaker is Iris Kelly.
I have word with you about this. What is wrong with track 3? If nothing's wrong with it, why did you move Brooklyn trains to tracks 11, 12? It makes no sense at all whatsoever. And also for the digital screens between tracks 6 and 7, you always able to see train track. That was great. When you took that away from us, that's not right. Short people cannot see what's up on the top screens. And then for the accessibility for Atlantic Terminal, I think it's terrible how you took a lot of the trains from there to go into Manhattan and back, or to Long Island and back, our own trains to go. We shouldn't have to always go into Jamaica to switch every time. We should be able to have our trains directly from Atlantic Terminal to go there and back. And then also, with the in terms of the railroad, our Brooklyn trains, why are they so short? A majority of them are very short. They're not the regular length that they should have been always. You shouldn't have to make us walk back up the other way to get there. And then the accessibility, we always had transfer trains, no matter what the problem was. And they had a long waiting time in between. It was always like a couple 2 minutes right across the platform each way between tracks 2 and 3. That was much more accessible than what you have now. It's not right. We should make some changes back, because ever since you made the Grand Central, you took away a lot of good accessibility problems that we had. It was perfect. Just January last year was perfect, a top A+. But then when February came this time this year, you went down, big fat F. You need to improve yourself. Thank you.
That concludes our public speakers section.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you to this morning's speakers. We're moving on to the approval of the meeting minutes for last month on January 29th. I would just like to start off with a slight correction. I am listed as not being present for this meeting, but I did join virtual. So if we could just make that correction on the meeting minutes, that'd be great. Are there any other corrections or omissions? If not, may I have a motion in a second? Sammy and Midori, second. All in favor? Meeting minutes approved. Kathy, Rob, are there any changes to your respective work plans?
There are no changes to the Metro North work plan.
No changes along Island Railroad.
Thank you both. We're moving on to the agency's president's report. Kathy will start it off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. While we're on the topic of the work plans, there's a new work plan item this year that we've never done before, which is an update on our prior year's performance. So just to, for purposes of run of show, I'm going to go through the regular February report, and then I'm going to segue into the 2023 update, and then Rob will do the same. I mean, essentially the purpose of the work plan item is not only to highlight our accomplishments for 2023, but also talk about how our performance in 2023 informed our goals for 2024. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in that presentation. But first, I'm going to do the February 2024 update. As Alita Dupree said, you can never get enough Grand Central, and February marks our 111th birthday, and marking another year as New York City's iconic transportation hub. It's a symbol of the city's past, but also a beacon for its future, and I think it's very timely that we're also celebrating the first anniversary of regular service to Grand Central Madison right downstairs. So Grand Central Terminal continues to evolve. We're happy to have the new neighbors downstairs, and we will continue to be at the heart of the city, and happy birthday, Grand Central. On February 13th, Mother Nature had an early Valentine's Day gift for all of us. It was a snowstorm that closed many schools, especially up north in Metro North territory, but also caused New York City school children to learn remote that day. Lessons about ridership during inclement weather led us to operate a slightly modified schedule. This allowed us to use a specially developed operating plan that reduces the risk of delays during storms. As it turns out, ridership that day was indeed down by about 36% since a lot of workers stayed home and schools were closed. The program was successful. There was minimal crowding. Actually, most trains were in the 30 to 60% load factor range, and there were no major delays because of the weather. I want to thank the entire operating team that helped ensure such great performance during a bad weather day. This past month, MTA expanded the Omni contactless payment system to the Hudson Rail Link. That's the connecting bus service that we operate at the Hudson Line stations of Spuyten, Duyvil, and Riverdale. This development allows the users of the Hudson Rail Link to benefit from the same weekly fare capping advantage that's available to New York City Transit subway and bus customers. This integration is particularly significant for the customers at those two stations where access to Metro North can be a little challenging because of the terrain there. This latest enhancement underscores our dedication to improving the commutation experience by offering convenient and contactless payment options. So for the past week, you could not turn on the TV or listen to the radio without seeing my rhyming conductor, Paul Pesanti, from the Hudson Line. He was on WCBS. He was on, I think, every local TV station. It was a sort of something that brightened my week. So I want to sort of speak about Mr. Pesanti. I had a couple thoughts. My next topic today is a conductor who's great at making up rhymes while our customers wait. He has a rhyme for each station they pass on the way as he travels the Hudson Line every day. Our customers appreciate his puns and his smile. He makes them forget where they are for a while. And so many thanks to conductor Paul P.A. for the service he provides to Metro North every day. So I'll be here all week. Okay. Okay. So last week, we held a ribbon cutting event for the new elevator at Purdy Station. I was joined by Chief Accessibility Officer Q Arroyo. The Greif family was there, as well as local elected officials and representatives from C&D and from the project team. The construction of this elevator is part of a broader ADA initiative that includes similar accessibility projects that we ribbon cut at Hartsdale and Scarsdale earlier this year. With the addition of the Purdy's elevator, we've significantly advanced our accessibility agenda. Overall, 80% of our stations in Westchester County have achieved full accessibility, which marks substantial progress towards inclusivity and convenience for our commuters. But there's no rest for the weary for our friends at C&D. There's funding for accessibility projects at Woodlawn, Williamsbridge, and Botanical Garden in the current capital program. These really important projects are what our core mission is about, delivering excellent customer service and improving regional mobility. On February 15th, we commemorated the graduation of the class of 2022 from our Engineer, Architect, and Project Construction Management Trainee Program, what we used to call the Associate Engineers Program. This very important initiative is designed to acquire and train future engineers at our railroad. This was the 9th cohort to graduate from the program, which has its origins from 2004 and then was revived in 2012. The program lasts for 18 months, provides our trainees on-the-job technical experience and professional development. Engineer trainees have contributed and presented on key railroad projects, including the M&V M7 Standard Work Time Study, the BL-20 air compressor temperature study, and Hudson Line Track 1 electrification, among other important projects. The class of 2022 consisted not only of 10 Metro North engineers, but also 44 MTA C&D engineers and architects. The 10 Metro North engineers who graduated from the program have now been placed in permanent jobs, with 8 going to M&V and 2 going to M&W. I'm sorry, switch that. 8 going to M&W and 2 going to M&V. Finally, while work is underway on the $1 billion walk bridge replacement project in Norwalk, shovels will also break ground in East Norwalk in an effort to improve the overall connectivity and rail service in that community. The closure that's coming up is the first of 2 that will be taking place at East Norwalk. During this 3-week closure, CDOT will install an underground retention system in the north parking lot and will do utility work connected to the larger walk bridge project. Staggered closures are designed to allow for the safe replacement of aging railroad infrastructure and will result in reducing trip durations on the New Haven line when ultimately complete. The project includes the replacement of the railroad bridge over Fort Point Street, the realignment of Fort Point Street, replacement of the superstructure of the railroad bridge on Osborne Avenue, replacement of the railroad bridge over East Avenue, replacement of the superstructure for the railroad bridge over Strawberry Hill Avenue, and improvements to and replacement of the East Norwalk Railroad Station. Later this summer, the station will be closed again for 3 weeks to begin work on the north platform. Okay, so now I'm going to transition into the 2023 accomplishments and our 2024 goals. First, a little bit about ridership in 2023. Our total 2023 ridership, both east and west of Hudson, was 60.1 million, 23.4% higher than 2022's total, and roughly 69% of our 2019 total. City ticket revenue achieved $8.1 million and $1.5 million in ticket sales in 2023. With the opening of Grand Central Madison service, we introduced the combo ticket. We achieved $741,000 in combo ticket revenue from 36.8 thousand ticket sales. As noted last month, our seasonal ridership has been very encouraging in comparison to pre-pandemic ridership, boosted by recovering tourism and very strong travel during the holiday season. We saw significant improvement in total revenue losses from fare evasion, a reduction of 35%. 2023 annual average weekday ridership as a percentage of weekdays in the same month was 71.8%. Same month in 2019, excuse me. 2023 annual average weekday ridership, including holidays, as a percentage of weekend days in the same month was 76.5, which is actually also very positive. With respect to our performance, in spite of everything that Mother Nature threw our way in 2023, including some major rain events, we had consistently high on-time performance, and we finished the year at over 97%. This does not just happen. It really is the result of amazing teamwork. Kudos to Justin and the entire team for the service delivery that occurred throughout 2023. The 4th year straight that we've surpassed the goal, which is the 2nd time in history that we've achieved that level of performance. Our MBDF for the fleet was $383,000. Jeff Weston here is our CMO, who's at the end of the table there. Kudos to Jeff and his team for all that they did to achieve such high levels of MDBF above the goal of 175,000 miles. In total in 2013, our year-end MDBF was 328,000. I'm sorry, that was December was the 383. I think I said that. The year end was 328,000, again, well above goal. After a successful pilot in 2022, we deployed the laser train to help fight slip slide on commuter rail tracks. We safely cleaned 24,000 miles of track, which resulted in a 70% reduction in slip slide related train delays, which reduced maintenance costs and improved operations overall, as well as safety across the railroad. 2023, we had 11 major storm-related weather events which impacted our daily operations. Thank you again to the men and women of Metro North who kept our service running through those very impactful rain and wind events. On the safety front, our reportable customer injury rate decreased from 2.38 to 2.00 per 1 million customers in the 12-month reporting period compared to the prior 12 months. Reportable employee lost time injury rate decreased from 2.14 to 1.93 per 200,000 working hours compared to the prior 12 months. Our customer community outreach program tracks totaled 69,984 in-person contacts in 2023, which is significant, and 906,000 contacts via our website and social media. We conducted rail safety outreach at 84 stations and 18 grade crossings on the Harlem, Hudson, New Haven, and West of Hudson lines, showing that we truly do put safety first. On the people front, this is again the tale of the leaky bucket, which we've been talking about for the last several years. We employ 6,237 employees. We have budgeted headcount of 67.3, so we have a vacancy rate of 7%. We are thrilled that we were able to hire 588 new employees and promote 307. However, we lost 388 to attrition. So we're ahead of the game, but we're still losing a lot of people to attrition every year. With all the new hires and continued annual certification and qualifications, our operations training officers achieved more than 301,000 instructor-led in-person training hours, 8,000 plus classes offered. Such an important part to keeping the operation safe. We continue to work very closely with our friends in the MTA People Organization to review and analyze opportunities to really improve attraction, hiring, promotion, retention, knowledge transfer, all the things that are so important. Opportunities to build on such initiatives that we did in 2023, such as reducing time to hire, growing the hiring of a particularly difficult title, the railcar electrical mechanics, building on the successful engineer training program that I outlined at the top of the agenda, additional cohorts of our operations managers development program, and trying to identify high potential leaders. You've heard a lot about the FBR, the Fiscal Baseline Reset effort. We realized approximately $13 million in savings and operating efficiencies and cost reductions in 2023. Our New York target for 2024 was $40 million. Actually, we have to overachieve a bit because savings that are attributable to the state of Connecticut don't count towards our New York target. So we actually had to identify $60 million in savings to be able to meet the New York target of $40 million. So our 4 strategies in terms of reducing costs, we're using advanced OT data analytics, our standard work pilot, which you'll hear about in a little bit, greater optimization of materials management, and capitalizing relevant projects where we can. We're committed to using everything at our disposal to be able to meet these targets and operate more efficiently. So that's a little bit about our 2023 performance. How does that inform our 2024 goals? So we essentially have 5 goals across the board, and I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them and some of the initiatives that we've put into place to be able to advance those goals. So you see on the slide, providing safe and reliable service, operating more efficiently, delivering on our infrastructure projects and our resiliency improvements, developing and engaging our people, and last but certainly not least, providing an excellent customer experience. So on the service front, what does that all mean? So what do we want to do in 2024? We want to improve travel times without compromising safety. We're advancing multiple resiliency projects, including raising our track bed near Garrison, which is work that is actually ongoing now. We want to continue to reduce customer FRA reportable injuries. Our goal is a reduction of 5% across our 3-year average. And we want to continue to look for opportunities to reduce fare evasion across our system. In terms of operating more efficiently, we're beginning our standard work pilot at Croton Harmon. We're collecting what we learn. The plan is to implement new standards by Q3 of 2024 forward for annualized savings from standardized work across the network and just identifying better ways of doing business for our people. We'll set up our portfolio of resources to continue to scale up that effort into 2025 and beyond. We're continuing to advance EAM implementation across the railroad, which will allow us to bring critical assets and maintenance activities into our computerized maintenance management system, modernizing our system and our approach to improve reliability and cost efficiency. Yep. Oh, lost a slide there? I think we've got some slides that are missing. So I'll keep talking even though we seem to have missing slides. We're going to continue to focus on our infrastructure program and advocate for additional capital investments to reach a state of good repair. Delivering on our infrastructure projects, we have annual targets for our maintenance program. Rail replacement between 8 and 10 miles, between 35,000 and 45,000 tie production, and 30 to 35 switch replacements. Developing our people, we want to continue to invest in our employees by furnishing a clean and safe workplace, providing effective and engaging training, building upon our existing succession planning program. We want to reduce employee lost time injury rates by a 5% reduction across our 3-year average. And then we really want to beef up and ramp up our existing succession planning program in conjunction with our partners at the People Tower, for 100% of our retirement eligible employees over the next 3 years. Finally, we want to continue to provide an excellent customer experience. We're very proud of the results that were presented at last month's committee meeting. We are committed to keeping our customer satisfaction rate above 85%. One of the initiatives to do that is to provide support on improving accessibility through the boarding assistant pilot program that we intend to launch at Croton, Harmon, and New Rochelle stations this year. So that concludes my 2024 goals and 2023 performance update, and I'm happy to answer any questions before we turn the mic over to Rob.
Any questions from the committee? Okay. Rob?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I'll follow the same process, going over my normal talking points for the month and then going to a slight look back and our goals for 2024. So we're beginning the year on a high note, starting with ridership. Total ridership increased by 17% compared to January of 2023, and for the 5th straight month, non-commutation ridership surpassed the same month in 2019, exceeding it by 10.4%. Monthly ticket sales also increased by 33% compared to January of 23 and 10% versus December of 23. On-time performance is impressively high as well. January on-time performance came in above goal at 95.1%. Our best performance since the opening of Grand Central Madison. This is a testament to the hard work of our employees by minimizing the impacts of a snow event and the frigid temperatures which followed all that week. We have new timetables coming out March 4th, which will both accommodate track work throughout the system and improve the customer experience. 2 additional trains will be added from Penn Station during the evening, one to Babylon and one to Ronkonkoma. These trains will reduce wait times in loading onboard current trains following Madison Square Garden events. In the AM peak, we're adding another through train from Long Beach to Atlantic Terminal. And during the PM peak, there will be 2 additional trains from Atlantic Terminal, one to West Hempstead and one to Wantagh. Again, these updated timetables come as a result of customer requests and extensive analysis of ridership patterns. I think we skipped one. Yeah. March is the month when much of our yearly state of good repair proactive maintenance programs kick into gear, and next month is no exception. With winter coming to an end, knock on wood, our engineering group has 6 grade crossing renewals scheduled for next month alone. The work will take place on the Huntington, Montauk, and Ronkonkoma branches. In addition, weeknight service between Jamaica and Brooklyn will temporarily be reduced from 3 to 2 trains per hour, beginning at 9 p.m. for westbound service and 10 p.m. for eastbound service due to track work. However, we will provide additional trains following select Barclays Center events to make sure event goers have a comfortable ride home as well. Remember to please check the Train Time app and our website for updated schedule information. Making our system 100% accessible is a vision shared by everyone at the Long Island Railroad, and I recently had the pleasure of updating the Long Island Railroad ADA Task Force as to where we stand with projects and programs of particular interest to the ADA community. At the February 6th meeting, Task Force advocates were given updates on the Long Island Railroad CARE program as well as current and upcoming ADA station construction projects. Currently in progress is a 9-station ADA improvements package, whereby another 7 Long Island Railroad stations will receive elevators for the first time, and 2 will receive replacements. At the meeting, MTA Chief Accessibility Officer Cumel Arroyo announced plans for an upcoming survey for the first time will focus on accessibility needs for our commuter rail passengers, with the goal of improving their customer experience. As we build a better railroad, we want to ensure that the system is accessible to all, and we will continue to welcome an open dialogue with everyone who shares that vision. As hockey fans and hockey teams have found that taking the Long Island Railroad to UBS Arena is the quickest and most convenient way to get there, we have found yet another reason to take the Long Island Railroad. The MTA and UBS Arena are piloting a program in the Train Time app that rewards customers for taking the train to Elmont UBS Station for events. For each qualifying event, UBS will randomly award $20 electronic food and beverage vouchers to 225 lucky winners. The pilot phase of this opt-in sweepstakes began with the Stevie Nicks concert on February 14th. Good luck, and remember, the Long Island Railroad is the best way to get to UBS Arena. The Long Island Railroad was fortunate to have another employee recognized as MTA Hero of the Week due to the fine work of a conscientious train crew member and an MTA PD detective who found and returned a lost bag of money to its owner. Assistant Conductor Chris Nacito and Detective Kristen Riker were named MTA Heroes of the Week for serving up a mini Thanksgiving Day miracle to one local family. That afternoon, Nacito was clearing a train in Ronkonkoma when he found a bag containing $31,850. The find was reported to the MTA PD, and through some incredible investigative work, Detective Riker managed to track down the identity of the bag's owner, and the bag was retrieved from Penn Station Lost and Found. This is yet another example of the true professionalism and dedication of our workforce. Congratulations and thank you to everyone involved. This also serves as a reminder to make sure you take all your items when exiting the train. And now, I'd like to review some of the Long Island Railroad's accomplishments in 2023 and present our goals for 2024. As we know, 2023 was a generational year for the Long Island Railroad, and we wanted to highlight some of the more impactful achievements. So to start, as we know, we opened Grand Central Madison successfully, I might add. We increased service by an unheard of 41%. Total ridership was 65.2 million. That's over 24% compared to 2022. We completed 99.6% of our trips. We achieved $15 million in budget savings, and customer satisfaction increased to 70%. We also reduced employee reportable injuries by 12%. It was quite a year, but we want to continue that momentum as we move forward. So with the Long Island Railroad, we're focused on safety, reliability, and the customer experience. And from that focus, we derived our goals. We identified 5 key elements and priorities. We'll start with operating safe service. To summarize this goal, we want to maintain a safe traveling environment for customers and employees. Now, as I mentioned before, we've seen some improvements in our employee injury rate, but we want to improve some of those successes that we had, and we want to reduce employee injuries by 5% over a 3-year average. We want to install 175 cameras throughout the system. Now, currently we have about 16,000 cameras, about 11,000 onboard trains, and about another 5,000 at facilities, whether it be employee facilities or the station environment. We want to work with the MTA PD. We want to enhance the onboard safety by optimizing the train patrol program. Now, this is a highly successful program which Chief Muller has been a true advocate for and has really riled up the troops to actively get involved. And this program consists of uniformed police officers boarding a train and walking through the train as it progresses. We just want to make sure that the officers are on the right trains at the right times, going to the right locations. We want to maintain a platform presence in Jamaica. Now, we want to have uniform officers on the platforms and on the overpasses. This provides a sense of security for our customers and our employees. And in the event that there is an incident, there's a quick response from the officers. And we want to improve conditions at destination stations such as Jamaica, Atlantic Terminal, and Penn Station. Now, as we've seen in the customer survey, we've seen improvements at these particular locations, both in terms of overall satisfaction and safety. We will continue to build on that. Improving the customer experience. We want to increase customer satisfaction and encourage ridership. Now, as you may recall, we just missed our goal last year of 94% by about 154 trains. And I still say that's remarkable considering everything that was instituted last year. But this year, we want to achieve the 94% on-time performance. We want to streamline the transfer experience at Jamaica Station. Again, we've made great strides in that. In the customer survey, for customers who transfer regularly, we've seen a 5% increase in customer satisfaction. And in Jamaica, we saw a 9% increase in customer satisfaction. But we have work to do in that aspect. When you look at bullet point 2 and bullet point 5, Jamaica Station on-time performance, in order to improve the transfer experience, we need to get the trains into Jamaica Station more reliably and closer to schedule. Our team is working very hard on this aspect, and we're going to hopefully develop some metrics to identify where we see problems and make adjustments in upcoming schedules. So that's a big lift. And also during the off-peak period, we want to align the trains more closely together between a Grand Central and a Penn Station train. Instead of waiting, hopefully the trains can get there as close as possible together. We're going to implement our Station Spruce Up program. Now, this is a program which includes total renovations, which we all like to see, but there's also the little things that we can do to improve the station experience. When you walk up to a station, that's the first thing you see at the railroad. You want to make a good impression. So it includes things as converting our regular lighting to LED lighting, replacing station signage, doing small landscaping projects, heavy-duty cleaning, and bathroom components. You may not need to completely gut a bathroom. It just may mean you could replace the dividers in the bathroom, and that will enhance the bathroom itself. Bathroom satisfaction is a big pet peeve of mine, and I've really pressed on our group, both on board and station. I know they're working hard, but that's something we really want to improve upon. Customer satisfaction, overall, we did increase to 70% last year, which was great, but we want to do better, and we're going to try to achieve a 75% customer satisfaction. Now, that's a big jump, but we think we can accommodate that. Okay. Build a better railroad. This is basically state of good repair, right? We want to maximize capital program funding to maintain and plan a railroad for the future. Now, we've implemented a lot of new infrastructure at the railroad the last couple of years, but if you don't have the rest of the facility in a state of good repair, well maintained, you cannot support that new infrastructure. So we want to maximize planned outages. We want a 90% utilization, meaning that when we schedule an outage, we want to make sure it's taken. Track access is at a premium, especially with the service we deliver. So we want to make sure the field personnel are taking the scheduled outage and the operations center is providing that outage. And when we do take that outage, we want to make sure there's as many work activities as possible to be efficient and maximize that outage. We actually measure ourselves on outages in relation to how close they are to schedule. So if an outage was supposed to be at 10 o'clock p.m., we want to make sure we're giving that outage as close to 10 o'clock p.m. as possible. We want to reduce the number of switch failures by 5%. Looking at 2023, for the engineering group, switch failures were our highest category of delays, particularly at Harold Interlocking. Now, the group has done an incredible job of reducing those switch failures, but we want to continue to do so as they have a direct impact on our operational reliability. We want to complete 4 ADA stations. I mentioned earlier we have 9 stations in progress. We want to complete 4 of them alone this year to ensure that the railroad is 100% accessible. And Long Island Railroad Forward, we've talked about that in the past. That's a proactive maintenance program where we address problems before they become a habitual problem. Things such as switch replacements, crossing renewals. Again, I mentioned we're going to take on 6 crossings in the month of March alone. And joint eliminations. That means installing things such as continuous welded rail and actually welding joints as they're a weak spot within the rail infrastructure. Run an efficient railroad. We want to maximize productivity and efficiency by streamlining processes, filling critical vacancies, and improving fare collection. Now, as part of the 2024 budget plan, we will achieve $60 million in savings through various efforts such as overtime reductions, efficiencies, and material savings. We're going to develop an overtime reduction plan. We're going to improve employee availability by, again, develop an employee availability plan. And we want to create dashboards. We want to work smarter, right? Not harder. We want to increase the use of analytics on our system. It'll help us track, trend, and identify issues before they become a larger problem. We want to reduce fare evasion. We want to increase the successful gating programs, ensure our crews are positioned in the right locations on the right trains, and we're going to explore ticket validity periods and activation policies. And finally, we want to energize and develop our most important asset, our workforce. We will energize our employees by improving internal communications and recognize employee achievements. Employees want to hear thank you. They may say they don't want to, but people need to hear a thank you, that their work is acknowledged and appreciated more than anything else. So things such as years of service, when you're dealing with an environment where employees work over 30 years, seniority means something, and acknowledging that they've put in the time and have done a job well done needs to be recognized. Another example is lack of sick usage. That's something else we want to recognize. We want to enhance and develop recognition ceremonies that currently exist. We want employees to feel when they walk away from a recognition that they truly achieved something, that they accomplished something, they made a tremendous contribution to our system. We also want to celebrate the Long Island Railroad's long, rich history. In April, we'll have our 190th anniversary. And finally, we want to have an employee town hall. This will give us an opportunity to communicate our goals, our vision, provide updates on certain initiatives, and answer questions of our employees. It'll give us an opportunity to address a vast number of our employees while doing so. So thank you, and that concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Rob? Neil?
It's a fairly generic question, Rob, but first of all, thank you for your goal setting and presentation. It's important as a new leader to have a vision going forward and then some theories or some tasks about how to do that. JANO has a similarly structured one at the corporate, to use a term, the corporate level. I don't know what you want to call it, the authority level, the agency level. How much, and this is again a general question, how much does your plan dovetail with his?
Well, I think if you look at both of our goals, they align with I believe it was 8 priorities that JANO had sent out for the agency, and we were sure to look at that and make sure our goals and priorities aligned with those.
Yeah, and I raised that in part because it's easier for you, but frankly, to your point about your town hall, it's really important for people in any organization to not see there's 8 things here, there's 6 things over here, there's 4 over there, and you get confused. So my advice is, if you've done it already, great. If you haven't done it to some extent, I would just make sure and if you can use the exact same words in certain places, that doesn't hurt, because again, it's not like the employee works for both Long Island Railroad and the MTA. It just makes your life easier in communicating.
Yes, Jerry?
Yeah, yeah, Rob, you'd mentioned the transfer opportunities in Jamaica, trying to make more closely align the Grand Central trains and the Penn Station trains. I would just ask that you let your schedule makers know that they need to allow for the up and overs. Closely aligning the trains is great when it's an across-platform transfer, but if it's an up and over, it could take 2 or 3 minutes, and you see people scrambling up and down those stairs, and it's a safety factor too. So just something to consider.
No, Jerry, we're well aware of that, and as we've been improving our reliability and our on-time performance, we're seeing less of that, right? And that's why I stress the fact that we need the trains to arrive Jamaica closer to schedule, because there is time allotted in there. We just need to make sure the trains are getting there as close to schedule as possible to give the customers the ease and the comfort of knowing that they will make their train.
Thank you. Yes, Norm?
Yeah, I'm going to compliment the agency, which like a lot of people who've been around me for a while know, when I say I'm going to compliment somebody, people kind of cringe because sometimes my compliment doesn't come out like a compliment. But and at first I got kind of like a statistical quibble here. Somewhere I saw there that ridership was up 17%, and then I saw there that ridership was up 24%. Did I missee, or is there an angle you can give me on that to make 17 equal 24?
The 24% was for the year. The 17% was January to January.
Yeah, okay. I guess I follow that, but it's close anyway. Now, that's my compliment part of it is ridership's gone up più o meno 20%, and that's 1 out of 5. That's a huge change, and that's really what we should be focusing on all the systems, bus, subway, commuter rails. It's like real estate, it's location, location, location. Mass transit, it's service, service, service. And what the customers really want, you can sometimes hear it from the throng of public speakers, is they really want more service. In the end of the day, they want more service, more service, more service. Now, 24% is an expansion, a beautiful expansion. However, on the other side, you put a statistic down that service went up 40%, which I never really bought anyway. And I think if you hack the numbers down, you'll come up with a number that's pretty close to each other. But still, it's a big improvement. But that's what we got to do, is get more trains out there for people to ride. Granted, it may not look good in the fare box operating ratio, but it's just such a wonderful expansion. You've done so many different things in this last year. You look at all these statistics, it's kind of a black swan year. It won't repeat itself because did I misstate something, Neil? You looked at me like, why do you use that?
Well, black swan's a very scary thing. It's like as you know, like the book was written about the notion of the financial crisis that no one knew was coming, kind of thing. So you're saying we have a black swan coming. The guy to your right is probably very stressed about that.
Well, it shows you how many books I read. Let's put it that way. I was thinking more of the movie, but regardless, it's expanding service, and any way you can get to tweak the service. I know I've complained over the years about less direct service into Brooklyn, which sometimes, it seems to rear its head over and over and over again. But in the end of the day, you're getting a lot more people riding the train. And if you got 40% more service, okay, and if it's 99% on time, like the Brooklyn shuttle is, you really get more service. You really get more ridership. As people know, every 12, 15 minutes there's going to be a train in there for them. And if they get and the train's gone, then they only got to wait 7 minutes. And it really is and I don't, I'm sure people would rather pay less to go from Jamaica to Flatbush Ave. But on the other hand, they want that train there. And you guys are doing that over and over again. I'm very happy with those numbers.
Thank you. Medora, you have a question?
Hi. So, Rob, you're not going to be surprised at the question I'm going to ask. So I've been taking the train here and there from Atlantic Terminal to Jamaica, often in the middle of the day, and just curious about what you're deploying as headways during the midday. And perhaps we have construction issues, but just want to ask about what off-peak or midway headways look like compared to the morning and afternoon peak, which I know there's been a lot of intentionality around.
Well, obviously, in any scenario, morning peak service is much more frequent no matter where you're traveling to. But in the off-peak period, midday, it's half an hour service, and that's a result of track work, necessary track work that's taken place down in the Atlantic Avenue Tunnel. And post-PM peak, it's normally 3 trains an hour, which is about 20-minute intervals. But again, we have a track work program coming up, and it's temporary. It's not forever. To accommodate the Barclays events, as I said, we will run extra trains from there. But post PM peak, it'll be half an hour service temporarily until we can finish this track work.
And may I ask for the midday? So you're saying that there's track work. What is the track work? What is it going to do in terms of improved service for folks and make sure that our system is in a state of good repair?
Well, I'll say a couple things, and if I forget something, Paul, please jump in. But first and foremost is federally mandated inspections that have to take place. So we perform those inspections, which happen. It's I forget how many miles off the top of my head it is, but it's a long stretch that we have to inspect that rail. And then on top of that, we're currently in the process of doing a rail replacement program, I believe. We're also doing tunnel lighting down there, things of that nature. It's, to improve the reliability of the service down there. in the recent past, we've had some problems in the East New York area with broken rails and everything, so the team has identified that as a critical location to replace the rail. So, you have to remember, during the peak periods, it's difficult, right? You don't, by the time you get out and deploy your forces, you don't have a lot of time. So these programs do take longer than, if we could do them straight through. So, Paul, did I miss something?
You covered most of it. We have some tie replacement work we're doing, and ultimately we are going to be doing some switch replacements down in East New York this year.
Great. And so it sounds like there's a lot of work around the East New York, and we want to make sure those tracks are safe and ready to go. So I completely understand that. I am curious about if there is a timetable for this work to be done, or do we just think this will kind of be the way it is for the next few months?
As far as midday will be for the foreseeable future, because we
Okay.
do have those mandated inspections
Mhm.
that we have to perform. So, and the
Great.
work will go over a couple of timetables midday. So it will be
Okay.
for the foreseeable future.
Okay, no, I appreciate the focus on the post PM because, Barclays Center is a place I like to go to as well. But really great venue there and good to get folks out in and out of that facility. But yeah, I think, when you see headways, but in our discussions at some point you've talked about, hey, making this, the headways of subways on the peak. But then we forget, the off peak, it's just significant more headways. And that's the reality. We totally understand. But it's just good to ensure that we're kind of telling the whole picture. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And to all the folks working down there in those tracks, it's really important work.
Thank you, Madhu. And we do monitor ridership patterns down there significant, to make sure that we're providing, enough service for our customers.
Thank you. Before we move on to operations, just a quick question. Will there be an update of these goals scheduled for later on this year?
Yeah, I think there's a work plan item for mid-year, just to sort of see how we're doing. July, is that what
July,
it is? Yeah, I think it's
okay.
July.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we'll update them then.
Perfect, thank you. And now Justin Vanishek will be giving a report on Metro North operations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. The operation report begins on page 12. Metro North's service delivered rate for January was 99.9%. Our system-wide OTP for January was 98.5%, above our goal of 94%. This was our highest January OTP in over a decade, and the credit goes to the entire Metro North team who worked tirelessly to ensure reliable service for our customers. Moving on to the fleet, as Kathy mentioned, the MDBF for the fleet was 383,000 miles in December, above goal of 175. And in 2023, our year-end MDBF was also above goal at 331,000 miles. There were several key factors which led to the overall reliability of the equipment. Such factors include improvements to the positive train control system, replacement and renewal of various door assemblies, replacement of M7 electric coupler jumpers, decrease in initial failures during the BL20 overhauls, and a reduction in wheel true activity associated with our laser train operations. Achieving this goal is no small feat and is a testament to the time and effort dedicated by our maintenance of equipment team to ensure the overall reliability of our equipment. And finally, on March 12th and 13th, Metro North will be hosting the first industry-wide C3RS Confidential Close Call Reporting System Symposium at Grand Central Terminal. Senior leadership from all participating commuter railroads, Class 1 freight railroads, the FRA, and NASA will all be in attendance. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this event as we collectively contribute to advancing safety and excellence within our industry. That concludes the report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Justin. Any questions? Okay, Tom Coast will be giving the report for Long Island Rail.
Good morning, everyone. Total on-time performance for the month of January, as Rob mentioned, was 95.1%, above goal of 94%. For the month of January, 7 branches operated at or above goal. For major events which result in 10 or more late trains, there were 21 incidents for the month of January. The most significant event occurred on January 17th, which was caused by a significant snowstorm followed by freezing temperatures. This event resulted in 67 delays, negatively impacting on-time performance by 0.3%. For our fleet performance, the MDBF for the month of December was 176,622 miles, above goal of 170,000 miles. And MDBF for 2023 was 170,752 miles, also above goal of the 170,000 miles. One component which was a driver in the MDBF reduction for 2023 were analog control units that were on the M7 fleet, which have since been replaced. For service delivery, we completed 99.4% of our trips for the month of January. For upcoming work that will impact service on the weekends of March 2nd and 3rd, track maintenance will take place between Great Neck and Port Washington. Buses will replace trains between Great Neck and Port Washington for approximately 48 hours. And one of the grade crossings Rob mentioned on on Saturday, March 23rd, crossing renewal at Lewis Road, along with various piggybacking activities, will take place between Babylon and Montauk. Buses will replace trains between Babylon and Montauk for approximately 24 hours. Please check the website and train time map for our updated schedules. That concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? Okay, moving on to safety report. Shelley Prettyman will be giving the report for Metro North.
Good morning. Metro North Safety Report can be found on page 15 of the Performance Metrics book. And President Rinaldi's remarks included the year-end customer and employee injury rates, which coincide with the current 12-month reporting period ending December 2023. So I won't repeat those here. She also highlighted our public outreach and education program results for the year, which contribute to improving customer safety. So building on that, I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the ongoing partnership of Metro North operations with the Office of System Safety in investigating each employee incident that occurs, which is so critical to improving employee safety throughout the year. In the interest of time, I'll conclude my remarks there. I'd be happy to answer any questions, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Any questions? Okay. Lori will be giving the report for Long Island.
Good morning, and our report can be found on page 30 of your book. Our customer injury rate reportable went from 2.53 to 2.56, and our employee reportable lost time injury rate increased from 4.37 to 4.46. We've highlighted, we reached over 6,100 contacts at a emergency responder expo, where we get a lot of our referrals for our free training to emergency responders and to tracks for the community education and outreach. Also wanted to highlight, since soft tissue injuries tend to be an ongoing struggle, that we completed in partnership with the Transportation Department and our labor partners a study through a third-party ergonomist of 11 tasks that are performed by our conductors and engineers, with the goal of focusing on those to see how we might address maybe some of the risks and challenges with those types of injuries. And happy to take any questions you may have.
Thanks, Lori. Any questions? Okay, moving on to our MTA police report. Chief Mueller will be giving a presentation. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. For the month of January 23, we had 39 major crimes in our system. Again, we continue to get plagued with two majors, is grand larceny and felony assault. In fact, of the 39 crimes that we saw, only 7 were other than grand larceny and felony assault. We had 5 robberies, 1 grand larceny, and we also had a burglary. I want to thank our Chief Customer Service Officer, Shanifa Riera, for helping us with unattended property. That's really the biggest driver of our grand larceny crimes. People are not looking over their stuff, and she and her team came up with an excellent marketing campaign on the trains to say, just keep an eye on things and try not to doze off. The felony assaults, which there were 14 of the 39 major crimes this year, this month, 9 of those were perpetrated against police officers. And this is something that we're seeing on a larger scale in the region and the country, assaults against police officers. And I believe a lot of it also has to do with our increased enforcement, on our system. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And we also have, at the request of the presidents, a very brief presentation about train patrols.
Yes, Jerry?
Chief, it might sound like a silly question, but what's the difference between a robbery and a burglary?
A burglary is dealing more with a dwelling, where someone breaks into a residence or a business facility, breaks in and steals things. A robbery is forcible taking of property from another person.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you got any way to separate out statistically between somebody that had their phone, says they had their phone pickpocketed, and somebody that left the phone on the, I mean, is there a way to separate it out? I see people leave their phones all over the place.
Yes, sir. There are. It's a great question. What happens is we're governed by the penal law. So a pickpocket, as you described, someone pulling a phone out of someone's pocket is a grand larceny because it's a theft off of a person. Now, it could also be a grand larceny if it was left on a seat if the value exceeded $1,000. So we're pretty much governed by what the penal law categories are of how we parse it out. But we do look very carefully at that because, again, we want to make sure, with our precision policing model, we are where we need to be when we need to be there, dealing with the things we need to deal with.
So to the pickpocket people, though, people are reporting they felt somebody go in their pocket. Did it originate in basically the same places where you would say tourists will be, Times Square, blah blah blah?
It can be. With the pickpocketing, a lot of times because it's a felony, our detectives, and they do a great job, will go back to onboard video and video in terminals and be able to actually see the act take place. So that's a lot of it. And generally people are very honest. They may say, listen, I fell asleep and I left my phone there or whatever. Or I had my jacket on the above, storage area, and when I came back, it wasn't there anymore. So it really depends.
Well, attributed to the police that think that people are very honest. I'm someone that thinks they lie out of their mouth almost constantly. And a teenager that loses their phone, I mean, if I lost a phone, as if I ever had one when I was a kid, and I told my father I got pickpocketed, he'd still slap me around. It really wouldn't change very much.
Yeah, I think it's the power of video really makes people have to tell the truth, because we take a look at it after the fact and see.
Or you just tell them we have video.
We always tell them we have video because we have video everywhere. So the train patrol program. So we know that, we've had train patrol for quite some time. This isn't a new thing, but we did feel like we had to nuance it a little bit and really focus in on, what we were looking for. So a lot of this is very data focused on how we do our train patrol. For example, we do on average a week 800 to 900 trains, which really exponentially adds to if you say just on average there's 10 cars to a train, you're talking to 8,000 to 9,000 actual cars that our officers walk through every single run. And we really look hard at how we analyze and how we deploy people. We want, again, the precision policing model is always going to be, where are the crimes, where's the fear of public safety. So we're looking at a lot of different data analytics. We look at surveys. Surveys are very valuable to us because we're able to see, where is there a lower percentage of the feeling of safety at a particular station or a train or a platform. So as I mentioned, we have 800 to 900 trains every single week that we patrol. As far as the outreach, we really look at and we refer to this, and I've said it before, as our platinum customers. We look at our platinum customers as our fellow MTA employees, our conductors, our engineers, our people that were our station managers, our cleaners. These are our platinum customers. So we do a lot with outreach in terms of having conductor town halls, for example, where we can sit down and listen to them, because no one really knows better as to what's happening on individual runs than our conductors. So we hear from them about, where they feel like we should be. And we also look at, a lot of fare evasion data, very important, it's a big deal for us. And I can just say, which you can see the increase, and maybe that's where some of the felony assaults on our men and women of the MTA PD are coming. We've doubled our enforcement, doubled our summonses this time last year. So from 22 to 23, we've doubled our summonses. One of the biggest things, and I'll close with this, is we changed the policy as to how we enforce fare evasion. So traditionally, we would discuss this with the conductor about someone who didn't pay their fare, and there would be a back and forth on the train, and maybe the officer would use discretion and say you can remain on the train. But in talking to our platinum customers, our conductors, it didn't really work well, because now you have a person who they tried to get a fare from, they didn't pay the fare, we allowed them to remain there, and it's not a safe situation. So we changed the policy with the blessing of our chairman to you must take the fare dispute off of the train onto the platform. We can still exercise discretion on the platform. Doesn't mean that someone's definitely going to, see enforcement of a summons or an arrest, but it is no longer on the train. And that's kind of like, we always thought that was counterintuitive to stay on the train. You have thousands of people that are on the train that are paying customers. You have one person who's disrupting, the daily commute, and yet they're the ones inconveniencing everybody else. So now we will take the one person, take them off the train, de-escalate the situation, and then the officers will make a decision as to whether or not they're going to, summons or eject from the property, or maybe let them get on another train. So that's our train patrol. We're constantly refining it. We're constantly, looking at the different nuances of how we can be better. Again, a lot of it comes from the ADL and the fare evasion. Where is the fare evasion occurring the most? And it's also very important that we insist that our officers, and they do a very good job with it now, of walking through every single train car. If the trains are crowded, we will ask them to get onto the platform, walk down the platform, and jump on another car, because we know that the feeling of safety and security is really driven by the people seeing us on the trains, being visible, and you can really, if you're hitting 8,000 some odd trains every week, that really translates into hundreds of thousands of people. So we'll continue to work on this. Great partnership with our conductors, great partnership and insight with our presidents of both railroads. We're very grateful for it, and we'll continue to work on this. But I think it's thus far been a very successful program, and I'm available to answer any questions if you like.
Thank you, Chief. Vinny?
Yeah, not a question, Chief. Thank you. We appreciate everything you've done, your leadership team, and most of all, the MTA Police Department. These patrols have really started to show some value. It's an ongoing process, as we always say, and your team is very willing to take our feedback day in and day out. The unfortunate part is the fact that we have so much more presence, that there are an increased assaults against your officers, which, as certainly somebody that's spoken about our conductors getting assaulted is not acceptable. It's certainly unacceptable to assault our police officers as well. The real message should be to the misbehaving ridership that's out there is that we're on this. We're going to stay on it. Fare evasion is an important component now on our property to make sure that fares are collected properly. So our conductors are going to be on board doing their jobs diligently, especially knowing that we have the support of the police department to back us up when we need it. And the gating programs that we talk about often that are so successful are successful because behind those conductors are police officers making sure that those fares are validated or collected. So we got to stay on it and keep our cops and our crews safe.
Thank you. Jerry?
Yes, I just wanted to applaud that change of policy. I think that's great. Take the situation off the train. And speaking for the riders, we appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. Moving on to information items. Kathy, can you please take us through the information items from Metro North?
Sure. There are two Metro North information items. The first is the adopted budget and 2024 financial plan, and then the second is the 2023 year in review, which I just presented.
Thank you. Rob?
We have three information items: the adopted budget, financial plan, the 2023 year in review, and the March timetable and spring track work programs. They're all in the book.
Great. I think with respect to the finance reports, that is in the book. We move on to procurements. Chair.
Good morning.
Sorry, go ahead.
There are two procurements this morning for the board to consider. The Long Island Railroad, on behalf of Metro North Railroad and New York City Transit, presents to the board two items for your consideration and review and approval. Both items are with the firm Mitsubishi Electric Power Products, Inc., otherwise known or referred to as MEPI. Both are critical contracts in support of the agency's operating agency's service reliability plan. One contract is for critical HVAC and propulsion replacement parts for Metro North's M7, M8, and Long Island Railroad's M7 and New York City Transit's subway cars. The second contract is for the provision of M7 propulsion system overhaul kits, which include critical inverter box and high voltage box distribution boxes. Both are presently configured on the M7 fleet for the two commuter railroads and are currently functioning beyond their useful life of 15 years. In negotiating each contract, the MTA compared MEPI's pricing to present pricing to previous pricing obtained by the MTA and past procurements. to determine price reasonableness. Each contract has a base term, and subsequent terms are tied to a producer price index, PPI, to determine cost reasonableness for each subsequent term. For the HVAC and propulsion replacement part contract, NEPI proposed an initial proposal of $151 million. The MTA Long Island Railroad was able to negotiate a contract of $142 million. This represents a $9 million cost savings, or a 7% cost reduction. For this is a blanket contract for a 5-year term funded by each agency's operating budget, and there is no minimum requirements for this contract. The second contract for the propulsion inverter box and bench test equipment, NEPI proposed an initial proposal of $681 million. The MTA Long Island Railroad was successful in negotiating a contract of $589 million. This represents a 13% price reduction and a savings of $91 million. This contract is for a 10-year term, and similar to the parts contract, will be paid for out of each agency's planned operating budget. The MTA has determined that the prices are fair and reasonable, and I submit these to you for your approval.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions on either procurement? If not, may I have a motion? Thank you. Second? Thank you, Neil. Any questions or anything? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion to approve is approved. Great. And having said that, we're having an adjournment now. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Midori, in a second. Thank you, Sammy. All in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.